Hey up everybody, and welcome back to the I'll Do Cycling YouTube channel, where today I'm going to be revealing who is on my Velogame 2025 team. Pretty much the biggest race of the year, so I'm really hoping this team is going to be a good performer. It's got a good balance, I think, of sort of a bit of stage hunting, sprinting, but a lot of GC focus. So obviously my first rider is Tadeja. I just couldn't really go with a team without him. I know that in theory you could go without him and then stack up on with multiple GC options who might fill out the top 5. But Pogacar is Tadeja, and there might be better options out there in terms of really fine-tuning your points per credit and spreading them out perfectly. But at the end of the day, Pogacar is expected to go incredibly well across pretty much the whole race, and therefore I just can't leave him out. So that was a pretty easy pick for me. I think he's been in there the whole time. My second pick, and somebody who's also been here a lot, is Remco Evenepoel, who I put in because he's the same price as last year, and he went quite above and beyond his points per credit last year. I think he got 2,600 points, and like I said, he cost 18 credits. So I think Evenepoel's got the possibility of going above and beyond his points per credit. Yes, his Dauphiné wasn't great, but neither was his Dauphiné in 2024, and that didn't seem to bother him too much. And I also like him because I think he'll probably win the Stage 5 TT and then hold a decent advantage on GC, and from then until probably the Otakam on Stage 12, so that's plenty of GC points along the way between those. So those are kind of the big two GC contenders I've got. I then have Alaphilippe as my first climber. Again, he's probably one of the few people who's been in here the whole time. Alaphilippe, I think, was incredible in the Tour de Suisse. He's really looking back to his old ways, and I think that first week is so good for him, and he also gets in breakaways quite a lot, so he really covers all bases, and I think for me he's a bit of a no-brainer. My second climber is Santiago Boitrago. I have had 6 credit climbers in here, like Champosan, Healy, for example. But I've gone with Boitrago because I like his punchiness. I think that'll be quite good in the first week. You know, he's been very good in La Flèche Wallonne in the past. So I think Boitrago is their main man for GC. I think he could get a top 10, and essentially if he did what he sort of did last year, he will get 800 points, and he didn't really do that much last year. So I think Boitrago is nice and safe. He usually gets above 100 points per credit because he's never priced too high. My sprinter is Phil Bowhouse. Again, could go with multiple options here. Penoe or Alexis Renard if you're feeling a little bit braver. Valenschold for X as well. Demar. There are plenty of options in the 6 credit area. I've gone with Bowhouse because last year he got about 600 points from 5 sprints or so, and I think that's roughly how many sprints he's going to have this year. I just think he's got a bit more experience than one like Penoe, for example, and he is going to be the sprinter for Bahrain Victorious, whereas with X they're kind of chopping and changing between Fledheim and Valenschold depending on the stage. So I think Bowhouse, he is a very fast sprinter. He doesn't have a Grand Tour stage win, but he has had some decent results this year, and he's a pretty good guy who might crack the top 5 2 or 3 times. My first unclassified rider, and again, this one has changed quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I made this change yesterday, and that is Emmanuel Bookman I've got in here, just because I think he could top 15 this race. He looked good in the Dauphiné. He was just outside the top 10 there. And no, he doesn't have a very good time trial, but if anything, that might give him the leeway to go into a breakaway because he's not looked at as too big of a favourite. And if Bookman finishes top 15 in GC and does, holds that from the Otakam, let's say on stage 12, and gets some decent, maybe he cracks the top 10 a few times or top 20 results on the mountaintop finishes, which is pretty realistic, then I think he could be getting, say, 300 to 400 points. And I've gone with him from a more of a safety standpoint. I realised that there are some stage hunters like, Barret or Schmid, for example, who might have a higher ceiling than Bookman and could get maybe more towards 500 points, I think, depending on, basically the breakaway if they get in there. But I've gone with Bookman for a little bit of safety. My second unclassified rider, again somebody who I've added in probably like a couple of days ago, is Axel Laurence, because Ineos announced their team a bit late. So Laurent I liked because I think that first week is brilliant for him. He seems to get involved in the sprints quite a bit. I don't know who they will be sprinting for, but Laurent was in the sprints for the Dauphiné. He got second in one of the sprints. So I really like Laurent for this. I think that first week is great for him. And generally, Ineos do okay in Team GC as well, so you'll get a couple of assist points maybe at the end from that. So Laurent I really like for that first week. And similarly, my other unclassified rider is Bastien Tranchant, who I think is very similar to Laurent in that I think he will be sprinting for Decathlon. He did so in the Dauphiné, although I don't think he'll be, winning sprints. I'm just talking he might get a top 15 or so. And he's also a good puncher, good for the breakaways. So Tranchant is really covering all bases as well, and he's had some fantastic results this year, including that win at Trobriand. So he's clearly something's going right for Tranchant this year. So I'm going to put him in my team. And then my last rider is a 12 credit rider, and that is Florian Leapovitz. So obviously you can see now Pogacar, Evenepoel, Boitrago and Leapovitz, and I guess you could even say Bookman as GC riders. Leapovitz, he was just very good in the Dauphiné, and he was better than Evenepoel in the Dauphiné. He's got a good time trial. I think he'll probably top 10 that TT on stage 5, so get those assist point of that daily GC points from then onwards, hopefully. I think my only concern with him is his kind of his snappiness in that first week, and whether he's going to be able to get those top 10s in those first 10 stages, or whether he's going to be working for Roglic. But Roglic is very much a risk in and of himself. I am also tempted to go with Jorgensen in here. It's kind of either or really, but I think based upon the Dauphiné, Leapovitz did look stronger than Jorgensen, so that's why I'm going with Leapovitz at the moment. I think he is a top 5 candidate in this race, so I'm hoping that with this I could potentially get 3 people in the top 5. But just for full disclosure, I have had a team where I've had Roglic in here and then had Champoussin instead of Boitrago. But Roglic is just... I've been burnt by Roglic too many times, and I'm not going back there again. I've also dabbled with the prospect of going with somebody like Tobias Harlan-Johannesson here, Champoussin, and then upgrading one of my unclassified riders up to Mathieu van der Poel. But again, Tobias Harlan-Johannesson, I think he'll be good for that first week. He's very punchy, but doesn't have the time trial and is unproven over 3 weeks in GC. So that makes me a little bit nervous, but it does allow me to get Van der Poel in, who is going to be electric in that first week. So that's sort of those are my 3 teams that I'm dabbling with at the moment, but I'm fairly locked in with Pogacar, Evenepoel, Alaphilippe, Bowhouse, Laurence and Tranchant. It's really Boitrago, Leapovitz and Bookman who might chop and change a little bit. But that's it. That's going to be, that might be my team. It's going to be one of those 3 pretty much. But let me know what you're thinking. Any final thoughts? I've been really liking seeing all the comments. Yeah, it's great to see people responding to each other and giving their 2 cents on stuff. I feel like it's a really good community of people all absolutely hell-bent on trying to win this competition. So it's great to see. It puts a smile on my face seeing the comment sections and everybody getting involved. So be sure to put your teams in the comment section, and I'll be sure to try and respond to them before the race starts tomorrow. So best of luck with the Tour de France, everybody. I hope that one of us at least wins it. And all that is left to say is to stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Salut.